Today we look at all of the evolutions of the shiny starter Pokemon in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. And we're going to look at shiny Koraidon and Miraidon. Even though they aren't starter Pokemon, they're with you since near the start of the game, and they're basically the icons for this game. You can use the timestamps in the video description to skip to any part you'd like. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. The starter Pokemon that I chose, and I was super happy about this choice, was Fuecoco, the fire type. And shiny Fuecoco looks a bit more pink. It looks a little less saturated and not as bright as the original when you're looking at the red and comparing that. When you see them together, you can tell them apart. You can tell that one is shiny and one isn't. But if you just saw one, it doesn't really stand out that it's a shiny Pokemon. Sprigatito is an adorable kitty cat grass Pokemon, and at first it might look like it's just a different shade of green, but you might have noticed that the normal cat has red eyes, but the shiny grass starter Pokemon actually has purple eyes, which is a really cool detail. As for Quaxly, the water type starter, his feet and the hair on his head are a lighter color of blue when you compare the shiny version to the regular version. The second form of the fire starter Pokemon is Cocolar, and if you compare the shiny version to the regular version, the shiny version looks like the regular version but with reduced saturation. If you look at the red on its body and face, it just looks a little bit more pale to me. It's like a printer that's starting to run out of ink and the colors aren't coming out right. The second form of the grass starter Pokemon is Floragato, a bipedal cat that looks like a boss out of a Kirby game. Again, the shade of green for the cat looks different if you look at the shiny version, and one of the coolest things about this is that the original has red eyes and this red circle, whatever it is, and the shiny version has a purple circle and purple eyes, just like the first evolution where there's some red, and in the shiny version there's some purple instead of that. Since I picked Fuecoco as my starter and my rival ended up picking the cat Pokemon, I actually never saw the evolutions of Quaxly when I played through this game, so here's my reaction to seeing Quaxly's second form for the first time ever.
For the Pokemon, oh, that actually looks pretty cool. Oh, that's actually so funny. It's almost like a water blaze skin. I actually like it a lot. Quaxwell.
I think there's a more obvious difference between the normal and the shiny Pokemon in this stage of the evolution, because the original, it has a lot of this darker shade of blue, and it has some lighter lining around the body, and it has these lighter eyebrows. And it's super cool that this shiny Quaxwell is the opposite in some way, where a lot of it is lighter, and it has the darker trim and the darker eyebrow. So it's starting to become more obvious to tell apart some of the Pokemon from their shiny versions, but this isn't always the case. Sometimes they look a bit similar, sometimes they're a bit more different like this. The final evolution of the fire starter Pokemon in this game is Skeledirge, and this is definitely my favorite shiny out of the three fire type Pokemon, starting from Fuecoco. It actually looks like it has a nice color that stands out now. The first two shiny forms of Fuecoco didn't look too different from the original, but Skeledirge, it looks like a brighter magenta or pink instead of the red, and it's finally a noticeably different color. I do really like having Skeledirge as a Pokemon on my team, and I love the move Torch Song. It has to be one of the most useful moves in the game because your special attack is boosted every time you use it. So if you keep using that move, you might end up with a Pokemon that has boosted stats that can take out an entire team if you can survive for long enough. Even one-shot KOing Pokemon that are many levels higher. I paired my Skeledirge with the item Leftovers during my playthrough, and I was really happy with this choice of a starter Pokemon, but I'll also have to play through the game with some other starter Pokemon some more. When we compare normal Meowscarada to shiny Meowscarada, which is the third evolved form of the grass starter Pokemon, the difference is a bit more subtle. There's still the red/pink on the original and the purple instead on the shiny one, but now this difference, it's still with the eyes. You can still see that the eyes are a different color. The spiky thing around its neck is also either pink or purple, depending on which one you're looking at, and also on the paws, which is a cool little detail. If you take a look at the darker part of the fur, then the shiny Meowscarada, it has a bit of a darker shade over there. On the original Meowscarada, the legs, they have a tint of green to them, but if you take a look at the darker part of the fur on the legs, then it looks a bit more dark and shiny on the shiny Meowscarada, and it might have a bit of a tint from the darker green. That could be why. I haven't really used Meowscarada, but it looks like it has a pretty high speed stat, and it also has a high attack stat, and it can learn some nice moves. Being a dark grass type is definitely a cool type matchup, and this would probably be my second choice of starter Pokemon if I got to choose one more. Since I haven't seen much of Quaxly in this game, I've also never seen the fully evolved form of Quaxly, so here's my reaction to seeing this Pokemon for the first time ever.
Yeah, I haven't seen the final evolved form of the water guy. Whoa! Look at it running around! That looks so weird. It almost doesn't even look like a Pokemon. It looks like something out of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Look at it. Quaquaval.
In the earliest form of Quaxly, only the hair and the feet changed color, so when we have a comparison between the normal and shiny Quaquaval, it's a bit more obvious that there's a difference because basically the color of the entire body is changing, and the shiny version looks like it might be partially a ghost or an ice-type Pokemon because of the color, but both of them are of course water fighting type. And being a water fighting type is a really cool combination, I think. It reminded me a bit of Blaziken from Gen 3, the fire fighting type Pokemon, which I absolutely adored. Let me know in a comment which of these starters and shiny evolutions are your favorite. One of my favorite looking Pokemon has to be the grass cat Pokemon, but if I could only have one of these Pokemon on my team, I'd have to go with Skeledirge, and a big part of that is because of the move Torch Song. Is an absolutely incredible attack. It boosts your special attack. You could also teach Skeledirge Shadow Ball, and that's his special attack also, so if you use a bunch of Torch Songs, then that'll also make your Shadow Ball attack stronger. And you can also teach Skeledirge Bite or Crunch so that you know a physical move and a dark move. If you have to know that, you have some good type variation. I'm just overall super happy with that choice, and the shiny Skeledirge also looks really cool too. And even though Koraidon and Miraidon, they're not starter Pokemon, they are kind of like the symbol or the logo for Pokemon Scarlet and for Pokemon Violet, so let's take a look at the shiny versions of these also. Here's my reaction to seeing shiny Koraidon for the first time.
Whoa! Whoa, shiny Koraidon looks incredibly cool. Wow, this is probably the coolest shiny Pokemon that we've seen in the game. I love how different it is because so many shiny Pokemon are just slightly different, but look at this one, wow.
This is how you make a good looking shiny Pokemon. Some shiny Pokemon just look like duller versions of regular Pokemon or regular Pokemon with the brightness turned up, but shiny Koraidon is great. It's like shiny Rayquaza or red Gyarados. It's something that surprises you when you see it. The blue and purple on the back and tail being changed to red and yellow is a really nice look. The white part stays white and the red part turns black. The only thing that could make this look better, I think, would be if the black was a bit more saturated so that it looked darker and less gray. And here's my reaction to seeing shiny Miraidon for the first time.
Would you look at this? Here's the shiny version of this guy. You know what? I think the shiny version of Koraidon looks even cooler than the shiny version of Miraidon. If they maybe made that black instead of gray like that, then I think that could have looked even cooler.
Okay, so I realized that the lighting on this guy actually looked a little funny because we were in a cave, and if you go outside, then the dragon is meant to look more like white or like steel. The color reminds me a little bit of Lugia, actually, and it's super cool to have an electric dragon type. This is a great way to add an electric type to your team. And yeah, when you bring this guy into proper lighting, he definitely looks a lot cooler as a shiny Pokemon, because when we were in the cave, he just looked like a Pokemon with lower saturation or higher brightness. So thank you so much for watching. I really recommend you watch my video where we play Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, but all Pokemon are random. I hope you have an amazing day ahead of you, and take care, everybody.
Wow.